welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about breastfeeding, breast milk supply, how to increase it. I'm currently whispering because I have two little babies. They're napping right now. I don't want to wake them up, so you might want to turn up the volume if my voice isn't loud enough for you. So yeah, I apologize in advance, but let's go ahead and dive right in. I've had a beautiful breastfeeding journey with my daughter. Hopefully some of my tips and tricks can help you guys produce milk and have that wonderful journey with your little ones. Before I go over what's helped me with breastfeeding and breast milk supply, I want to kind of go over why I decided to breastfeed my baby. Obviously, we all know that breastfeeding our baby is the best thing for them, but sometimes we can't produce milk, or we just can't do it. And formula is not a bad choice, don't get me wrong. Like, if you have no other choice, formula is the best thing, right? Because you don't want your baby to starve, right? Yeah, I decided to breastfeed, and the reason why is because breast milk, guys, is actual living fluid. Like, it actually has living things inside of that breast milk versus formula, which, you know, it also has nutrition and all that stuff, but it's not like breast milk. Breast milk actually changes its composition to adapt to what your baby needs, and formula doesn't have that ability. And I think that is like a superpower. For example, if your baby becomes sick and it needs antibodies to fight off whatever, you know, sickness that it has, say that you have a toddler and then your toddler has a cold, and then that cold passes on to your baby, then your body, if you're breastfeeding, your body is going to naturally create antibodies to help heal and protect your baby from getting further infected and sick even further. Also, breast milk is not just food. It has an important protective function that protects your baby from diarrhea, bloatingness, gas, ear infections, thrush, the cold, the flu, all that stuff. Even the risk of SIDS gets cut in half if you breastfeed your baby. Also, studies have shown that breastfeeding your baby is linked to better behavior and better eyesight. I was all for breastfeeding, and I'm just so happy that it went so well for me, and I really hope that this video can help one of you out there. But like I said earlier, if you're unable to breastfeed, do not feel bad about it. Don't feel guilty, because the most important thing is that you tried, and that is, you know, that is worth everything for you and worth everything for your baby. So don't be too hard on yourself. Formula is a great alternative, and there's been babies that have only drank formula as an infant and they developed perfectly fine, and, you know, they went on to be like the best at whatever they did. So it's totally fine. Don't be too hard on yourself. Okay, now let's talk about what has helped me with my breast milk supply and, you know, breastfeeding journey and all that stuff. This is where it gets really good. The first thing I want to talk about is breast massage. This is for you mommies who are still pregnant and you want to prepare your body for, you know, breastfeeding your baby. You want to prepare your body to produce all this milk for your little one, and you're doing your research before your baby is here. This is great. This is what I want you to do. This is what I suggest every pregnant mom do, is prepare your body to produce milk before your baby is even there. One of the things that I personally did when I was pregnant is self breast massage, and I did this around, like, I want to say 35 to 36 weeks is when I did this. My doula actually was the one who introduced me to this when I was pregnant with my son, and she told me about, okay, self-massage. She also recommended I get like lactation teas and all this stuff to help prepare my body to create milk for my baby before he even gets here. But unfortunately, that ended up not working for me. I don't know why. Maybe I didn't take it too seriously. Maybe I wasn't too like focused on it. But this time around, I was definitely a lot more focused. I definitely was trying to get into that zone where, okay, my body is creating food for my baby. My body is creating food for my baby. And I would tell myself this all the time. I would massage my breast, and I would do it with oil. I would do it in the shower, and I would just try to stimulate my body to produce milk. If you didn't know, doing self-massage on your breasts in the later weeks of pregnancy actually helps to induce labor, because your body releases the hormone oxytocin when you're doing the self-massage, and that is the same hormone that gets released when you are in labor. Is that crazy or is that crazy? So if you actually just want to have your baby, just do some breast massage and it could happen. So how do you actually do the breast massage? There's actually tons of videos online that you can find, and I can link some down below for you and you guys can check it out. But what I would do is I would use sesame seed oil. That's actually one of the oils that my doula recommended for me. But you can definitely use almond oil. You can use coconut oil. You can also use olive oil or any type of oil that you're rubbing your belly with for like stretch marks and stuff. You can definitely use that oil around your breasts. You definitely want to make sure though that you are using an oil, because when you're doing the stimulations, you're going to have to use pressure. If you don't have an oil, then it's going to hurt. So you want to make sure that you're using an oil and you kind of go gently, gently, and then you want to go more aggressive. The other thing that I did during pregnancy was I would take hot showers. Now when I say hot, I don't mean like super hot where it's like burning, but I mean hot where it's like you could kind of feel the heat. It gets steamy in the room. I would specifically do this at night right before bed, because during the daytime when you're pregnant, you know, you just walk here and there and you get sweaty. So I always would take a shower at night. That would be perfect for me. It would relax me. It would make me feel calm, and it was perfect. So I would do the hot showers at night. And I know it's difficult to shower during pregnancy because you have all this weight gain and you can't move around much, but my main focus was, okay, I need to help stimulate my body to produce milk, and that was like my main focus. So what I would do is I would have the shower head pointed towards my breasts, and I would have the water temperature be pretty warm, and the sensation of the water helps with the stimulation, and also the steam helps as well. Steam is basically moist heat. If moist heat touches your body for a long period of time, you end up creating circulation within your body, and that circulation helps to stimulate oxytocin, which is that hormone that induces labor. Oxytocin is also that same hormone that induces letdown. So when you're breastfeeding, you get let down, and when you get let down, that's like when your breast starts leaking milk. And that's what it does. So when you're stimulating your body with this heat, this moisture, the massage, your body creates all this circulation, and then it releases the oxytocin hormone, which induces labor, and it also helps stimulate letdown. So if your body is thinking, okay, baby is coming, I need to produce milk. So you want to make sure that you're doing this before your baby comes. It's going to help you so much. If you're pregnant, this is the first thing you want to do to help your body and to help your baby. Help stimulate your body to create milk. Your body isn't just going to do it. Some people are lucky. Some people, their body is just going to create it right away. But you don't want to just leave it up to fate and be like, oh, well, it happened, it happened. If it didn't, it didn't. If you want your baby to have breast milk right when they're born, I highly recommend you guys do this, and let me know if it works in the comments below, because it worked for me. And if it worked for you, let me know in the comments below, because I'm just curious, like, is this thing true? Like, is it just me, or is this real? The second thing for you moms out there who want to produce more milk for your baby, and this is after your baby is born and you just are having trouble with supply, and I'm pretty sure you guys have heard this before, is power pumping. And that actually has helped me as well, but power pumping is number 2 on my list on how to increase your milk supply. The idea behind this is to trick your body into thinking, okay, I need to produce more milk because the baby needs more than what I've provided. So you're power pumping, you're emptying out your breasts like manually through a pump. Instead of feeding your baby, you're manually pumping for a specific amount of time. You're emptying out your breasts, and then you wait a certain amount of time, and then you pump again to try to trick your body into thinking, okay, the baby is still hungry, the baby needs more milk, and your body goes on kind of overdrive and starts producing a ton of milk. Power pumping is basically similar to cluster feeding. So if you have a baby, you know that they cluster feed, which means, you know, there's like a certain period of time where they just drink every hour or every like 30 minutes, depending on, you know, how hungry your baby is or how much of a growth spurt they're going through. During these times when they're cluster feeding, that is when your body is producing all this extra milk. When you're power pumping, it's kind of mimicking the cluster feedings of your baby. There's many different ways you can do power pumping, and I'm pretty sure there's like stuff online that you can look up on how to power pump, how often should you power pump, all that stuff. The way I would do it is for 1 hour a day, I would pump for 20 minutes straight. So I would put the pump on, I would pump for 20 minutes straight, and then after 20 minutes, I would turn it off for 10 minutes. I would rest, and then after 10 minutes, I would turn it on again, and then I would pump for a good 10 minutes. And then after 10 minutes, I would turn it off again for another 10, and then another 10, I would keep it on again. So that is basically what I did. I'll kind of like leave a little thing right here so you guys can see how I power pumped, but 1 hour out of the day, that is how I would power pump. Sometimes I would do it 2 or 3 times in a day, depending on how much milk I needed. And then after that, I started producing a ton of milk, and I'm saying like a ton of milk. I was using like these bottles to store my milk in the freezer. I was producing so much milk, I was like, yeah, I can't use these bottles because there's not going to be enough space in my freezer. I ended up having to buy the disposable Medela bags. That saved up so much room. I was able to fit the milk in there. I was actually running out of room, and I had to go in the other freezer to store my milk in the other freezer because it was like so much milk. I would actually recommend everybody do that. Like, just get disposable milk bags that you can store in the freezer, and then you frost the milk and just get rid of the bag. So that is what I did, and it was amazing. Also, the pump that I used was the Spectra pump. Make sure that you're using a medical grade pump when you're doing this, because that will give you the best results. After a while, my Spectra just stopped working. I don't know what happened, but I was using the Spectra with my son as well, and I would be pumping day and night with him. So I don't know if I just like overworked that machine or what, but it ended up just stop sucking. So I ended up getting a wireless pump, and I got the Willow. I would recommend a wireless pump. It's amazing, hands-free. You can do your chores, you can take care of your kids, you can cook, clean, you can run errands, which I personally didn't do because like it increases your boobs by a lot. And yeah, my boobs looked huge with that thing, and I was like, yeah, I'm not comfortable going out with these things because I feel like all you see were those. I highly recommend using a wireless pump because you won't feel like you're tied down to anything. You can move around freely. It's amazing. So not only was I pumping, okay guys, not only was I pumping, I was also breastfeeding. So you could only imagine how much milk I was producing. When I would breastfeed on one breast, I would have letdown on my other one, and I would use a Hacka pump to collect that milk, and whatever milk I had let down, I would put it in the little baggie and I would freeze it. And if you don't know what a Hacka pump is, I can link it down below and you guys can read about that. But if you are planning on breastfeeding, I highly recommend a Hacka pump or something similar to that to collect fallout when you're breastfeeding on one boob, so you can collect the letdown on the other. The thing that I want to mention with the whole breastfeeding thing, so as I was breastfeeding my daughter, this was like my first time breastfeeding. I didn't know much about it. I was just like, yay, I'm producing milk for my baby. But the thing is my baby would always be like super uncomfortable. She would be super fussy, and she would be super gassy, and I just didn't understand. I was like, is it what I'm eating? Why is my baby so fussy? I ended up telling my doula, why can't I have my daughter enjoy breastfeeding? I want her to enjoy it. I want to enjoy it. Even though I don't have an issue with milk production, my issue is enjoying it. And all she did was ask me 2 questions. She asked me, while you're breastfeeding, how much letdown are you getting on your other breast? And I told her that it's over 5 ounces and that I'd have to switch the Hacka pump so you know, it could refill because that one would just overflow. That would happen in about 5 minutes. That thing would be up over 5 ounces. And she told me, well, that's your issue right there because your baby is super small and she can only take about 2 to 3 ounces of milk, and your body is producing way more than that. So not only is she being overfed, but she's also drinking a lot in a short period of time, which is going to upset her stomach. So my doula recommended that the best thing for me to pump before I feed her to release the buildup of milk and then feed her. And that honestly worked out so perfectly for me. Ever since I've been doing that, my daughter enjoys breastfeeding. I was able to release all that buildup, save that extra milk that would come out by force. I wouldn't obviously pump everything out. I would just pump for about like a minute or two just to release that buildup, and then I would put my baby on my breast. She would feed. The flow would be perfect for her. She would be happy. It was perfect. Like, I didn't know that pumping before feeding your baby can have such an impact. If your body was producing a lot of milk like mine, you are probably thinking, well, you don't need a power pump, you don't need to do all this extra pumping, you don't need to save all this milk because you have a lot of milk already. That's fine, but don't forget that your body is going to stop producing milk. You're just going to go through a drop. And so you want to constantly pump, you want to constantly stimulate your body to produce milk, because you want to breastfeed your baby for about a year, right? That's like the best you can do. 6 months is great too, but the best you can do is for a year. So that is why it's like in the beginning you have a lot of milk, right? You have a lot, but you want to keep it up, because around 4 months postpartum, a lot of moms have a drop in their milk supply. I didn't have a drop in my milk supply at 4 months, thank God. And I think it's because I was like pumping like a mad woman. But around 6 months, guys, is when I actually noticed a drop in my milk supply. And the reason why I had that drop, guys, is because for 1 week, I was just lazy. I did not breastfeed my daughter at all. I mean, I would breastfeed her, but only at night. During the daytime, I would like pump 3 times max. And I was just thinking, like, I have all this milk in the freezer. My baby is good. My baby is set. Like, she's gonna be good, you know? I'm 6 months postpartum. I've been breastfeeding her for 6 months. All this milk is gonna last her. You guys, that 1 week screwed me up so bad. Like, I regret it. If I didn't lag that 1 week, I kid you not, I would have been perfectly fine. But because I just lagged that 1 week, I didn't think it was gonna make such a huge difference. It did. And even with power pumping 2 to 3 times a day and breastfeeding my daughter, I still am struggling on producing all that milk that I produced like before that whole week that I didn't do it. Do not be like me. Do not get lazy. Don't think like, oh yeah, that's so much milk, I don't need to pump anymore. I don't need to breastfeed for a day or two. It's not gonna hurt. You know, maybe you'll get lucky and it won't hurt you, but it hurt me. It hurt me so much. Like, I don't have that milk supply anymore and I'm kind of bummed. Okay, so this is number 3. The third thing, guys, the third thing you can do to help increase your milk supply for your little one is lactation supplements. I know that you've probably heard about this and there's so many videos on these, but lactation supplements actually help. When I say lactation supplements, these can be teas, cookies, shakes, tinctures, pills, you name it. Like I mentioned earlier, I did take lactation teas before in my first pregnancy. It didn't help. The teas that I tried were the raspberry leaf tea, the moringa tea, and it did not help at all. I actually took those teas when I was pregnant and it didn't help. I also tried lactation pills. By the way, this is with my son. This is my first pregnancy when I tried to do something about breastfeeding, tried to increase my milk supply. These are the things that I took to help produce milk, but it didn't help me. This is me personally. Maybe it may have helped other people, but for me, it didn't help. The red leaf tea, I think it's called the raspberry leaf tea, didn't help me. The moringa tea didn't help me. And then I also took some pills. The pills that I took were specifically from Legendary Milk, and that's the brand. Legendary Milk is the brand. It's all dairy free. I took all the different bottles that they had. The ones that I took were Pump Princess, Cash Cow, Milkapalooza, and Liquid Gold. They had like a bundle where if you buy it, you can get all these different bottles and you can try to see which one works, and that's the one that I got. got. And then the one that worked a little bit for me was the liquid gold. It maybe increased my milk supply by like an ounce, which really isn't much. I also tried fenugreek pills, which worked a little bit, but then not that much. And also I smelled so bad, I couldn't take it. You guys know that I work out, right? So anytime I'd sweat, I'd smell like a straight up fenugreek pill. I couldn't even stand myself. Like I was like, oh my God, I stink. I would shower, but that smell would still be in my nose. I hated it. So after about a month of taking the fenugreek pills, I just stopped. I just couldn't do it anymore. I eventually stopped breastfeeding. I stopped pumping and all that stuff at 4 months. This is with my first pregnancy. I stopped breastfeeding. I stopped pumping. I stopped all of that at 4 months. I just gave my son donor breast milk and it was fine. This time around, I for sure did not want to take fenugreek pills. I tried to do lactation cookies, lactation snacks, brownies, all that stuff. I found it so much more like enjoyable. It was so much better. It wasn't like a form of a pill. It wasn't anything. I was able to eat it and enjoy it and savor it. I loved it. I would highly recommend you guys get lactation snacks. Like do the snacks over the pills, do the snacks over whatever else, because you need food, right? And sometimes you can't go cook. You can't like, you know, make yourself a meal or anything and you're starving. So you can have a shake or you can have a cookie, a brownie. You can feed yourself and it'll be amazing. I found it so much better to do these lactation snacks. There's tons of lactation supplements or, you know, brands out there with all these cookies and stuff. And I did a ton of research and the ones that were my favorite were from Milky Mama. I loved those ones. But before I talk about which ones I took and stuff, I want to talk about when I started taking it. So I started taking lactation snacks at around 2 to 3 weeks postpartum. So even though I was breastfeeding my daughter, everything was good. I was like, you know what? I want to take lactation supplements to help increase my milk supply, because I was already thinking about like, okay, 4 months is when there's that drop in supply. So I wanted to prepare myself and my body in advance before I even hit that like supply decline. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and take these supplements to get my body to produce milk on overdrive so I have backup in case I run low on milk production wise. 2 to 3 weeks after I had my baby, I started taking all these lactation supplements, and the ones that I got were from Milky Mama. I loved it. They tasted amazing and it increased my milk supply like crazy. One thing I want to stress on though is everybody's body is different. So just because I had these cookies and it helped my body produce all this milk, it doesn't mean that it's definitely going to do that for your body as well. Everybody's body is different. My body produced milk right away after my baby was born. Maybe you didn't have that experience. So maybe if you take these lactation supplements, maybe you'll also need to pump and do all these extra stuff like self-massage, all these other things. You need to continue doing that to help your body produce the milk, because these supplements aren't going to be enough. Everybody is different, and if it doesn't work for you, don't be hard on yourself. At least you tried. Milky Mama has a lot of different things you can get. If you go on their website, they have like cookies, they have brownies, they have tinctures, they have shakes. I don't know if they have teas or whatever, but what I actually used from their site that works for me, the emergency brownies, oh my God, I had to stop taking that. I took that twice and it was crazy. Like in one sitting, I kid you not, I produced like 12 ounces of milk and I was shocked. I was like, oh my God. And my breasts were like hurting so much. I was like, I need to pump. I need to pump. Where is the pump? I just need to pump. I was pumping like a mad woman, not because I needed milk, but because I was in pain. I had to stop taking the emergency brownies, and if you're low on milk, I highly recommend you guys take the emergency brownies because they did wonders for me. So the emergency brownies I took, and then just the regular brownies, I had that. I loved the caramel cookies. I love that. I also tried the peanut butter, the chocolate chip cookie one. I like that one too. But the one that actually like goes crazy is the emergency brownies. And then I really wasn't a fan of the chocolate chip one. I don't know, it was kind of like okay. They also have like oatmeal cookie, but my favorite taste wise was the caramel one. It gave me a lot of milk, but it didn't like put my body on overdrive. It increased my milk supply, but not so much. And it was just great for me. I also tried one of their tinctures, the Lady Leche. That's one of the tinctures that I used. I feel like when I used that, it actually decreased my milk supply. Now, if you go on their website, you look on their reviews, they have like 5-star reviews and says, oh my God, this did amazing for my milk supply. But for me, when I tried it, I was like, oh my God, I noticed my milk supply decreasing. Like when I would go and feed my baby, like my baby would want more milk and I'd have to switch her on the other side, and that would never be the case for me. So I stopped using that. Like I said, everybody is different. Like what may work for you may not work for someone else. So I thought the tincture is great. It has all these raving reviews, but when I actually used it, it negatively affected my milk supply. Other brand that I used is Baba Bella's. And they only do lactation cookies. They don't have like shakes and tinctures and all that. They just do lactation cookies. And all their ingredients are organic, and they also have vegan options. So the one that I got from their website is the variety pack, where it comes with like all the different flavors. And when I tried it, it was okay. I didn't notice like a huge difference in my milk supply or anything. I preferred the taste of the Milky Mama brand better. I just felt like the brownies were just so much more satisfying. The cookies were so much more satisfying, like they hit the spot. I don't know why. But the Baba Bella's one, I don't know. I just felt like the cookies were a little dry and it wasn't as satisfying and filling. I don't know, everybody's different, and it really didn't do much for my milk supply. That is basically it. These are the 3 things that I would highly recommend to any mom who wants to increase their milk supply. Try these 3 things and see if it helps. But these are the main 3 things that helped increase my milk supply. And of course, with all of this, like all the supplementation, this breast massage, and you know, all these things that I just told you, you definitely need to hydrate, stay well rested, and eat a healthy diet. Yeah. You did? By the way, guys, my baby boy woke up. You want to say hi? Huh? No? Okay, well, I guess we're done here. I am just going to say bye to them. Okay, Armand? Come on, we say bye? You did okay? He's looking at me like, who are you going to say bye to? I'm saying bye to you guys. But yeah, I hope you guys found this video helpful. Thumbs it up if you did. If you have a friend or a family member who is going to embark on a breastfeeding journey and you think that this video might be helpful to them, then please share this video. I love you guys. Thank you for all the love and support. And until next time, bye.